Charles, just tell me more about what the Keats-Shelley Memorial Association does.
Well, the Keats-Shelley Memorial Association does a number of things. The first thing it does is that it looks after the house in Rome, the Keats-Shelley house in Rome. And within the Keats-Shelley house, there's a museum, and the museum holds a collection, a very important collection. So part of the function of the association is to maintain the museum and to refresh the collection from time to time. It also has a responsibility to look after the non-Catholic cemetery in Rome, where the two poets are buried, as you know. And we also have a very important function, which is the outreach, both in the UK and in Italy, where we protect and develop the reputation and the skills and the wonderful poetry of the English Romantic poets, especially Keats and Shelley. That's what we do.
So there's a sort of caretaker role, but also taking the works of the two poets out to people and making sure that they live.
Well, that's a very important part of what we do. You must remember that Keats and Shelley and all the English Romantics are widely read and understood. They are translated into languages all over the world, and as a result of which they are taught in schools and universities. Of course, the works of the Romantic poets do show up in literature, they show up in sculpture, in pictures. So they are, as it were, exported all over the world, and we are part of that. And you must also remember that the Keats-Shelley house in Rome has enormous global literary significance, and that's what we are protecting and developing.
The charity has been going since the early 20th century. How do you see it developing in the future?
I see it developing in a number of ways. First of all, one must remember that there have been a very large number of eminent people who've come to see it. For example, Oscar Wilde came, and right up into our own day, His Majesty the King has obviously visited, and I should say that he is our patron. And it's very important to keep the numbers of people visiting the house up to a high level. We do this by, first of all, refreshing the collection. And we are in the market, obviously, to buy items that are suitable for the collection, although we have to be very careful with our money, obviously, being a charity, and we can't be extended too far. In addition to that, of course, we have our outreach, both in Italy and in the UK. And we publish a number of journals, particularly the Review, which is very widely read. I think the other important thing is remember that the poets, the English Romantic poets, are translated into languages all over the world, and they are studied, obviously, and appreciated in schools and universities globally. And we think that is a very important element of what we can contribute by being responsible for this wonderful association and this wonderful building, which is really a global literary heritage site.
We've had so many great events in the last 2 years. What stood out for you?
Well, strangely enough, the event that really stood out for me was the initial reception at the Italian ambassador's residence in London in Grosvenor Square, which launched the whole thing. And it was really because of that that I began to realize that we had something really very interesting and important happening for us. And all of the events that followed were so interesting and successful that I think we did a really good job in producing these series for the future, for the association, for its future. I think they were all very, very immersive. In other words, the people who were involved in them were very much taken into them. I remember in particular going with you, indeed, into the cemetery in Rome and just feeling the spirit of that place and how it is extraordinary that both Keats and Shelley should be buried there. And it's also a very, very important cultural link between ourselves and Italy, which should be preserved. And I think what it said to me at the end was that the Keats-Shelley Memorial Association, in particular the house in Italy, are really global literary places. I mean, they really should be, I think, they really should have more acclaim than they've had in the past, because they are so important. The fact that they're translated so widely and so widely appreciated, read particularly by schools, in schools and universities, I think they deserve a much greater recognition. But that's what we've done in the past year, and it's been a tremendous success. And it's been a great pleasure and a privilege to be involved in it.